Yo, everyone, it's Dojo. Welcome to the Polish Ambasstronauts podcast, a new show where we're going to be interviewing musicians, Web3 thinkers, and just interesting folks in this space. It's my pleasure to kick off episode 1 with the man, the myth, the legend himself, guy who, hasn't done a podcast in like 5+ years. We got him here today, folks, to talk. So, David Sugalski, welcome to the podcast.
Yo, buddy, it's good to be here and good to reconnect with you. Be reconnecting with you after many moons back. Adam and I met while I was doing semester abroad in Australia, a little surf town called Wollongong. And
shout out Wollongong.
Yeah, we met up there. And what was I was thinking about it the other day. Like, I feel like the thing that made me that connected me with you. I remember going to breakfast one day with you, and it's either you or our friend Dave, and you had grabbed what you believed was toast. And in Australia, what they do is they put the bacon and like all the greasy stuff on bread underneath, and you were eating it, and I was like, dude, that's like bacon soaked bread you're eating. That's
gonna kill you.
Yeah, and we just had a good laugh about that, and I was like, this guy's cool, this guy's funny, he can laugh at himself. So,
oh man, the South Dakotan let loose in Asia. Look out! Yeah, eating literally in fancy hotels, you put the bread to catch the grease. That's this guy, just diving in head first, bathing, rolling around, and laughing. And hey, man, yeah, that is absolutely why we connected. I think the humor, the creativity. I mean, you're just a lovely person. For people, I can't imagine people don't know you, but like, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit, or tell maybe a shortened version of, again, I met you in Australia, but then not that long after, right? You started kind of playing around, and then I think maybe even made a visit to a thrift store and picked up a jumpsuit. Like, just take people through the story if they're finding out about you for the first time.
Yeah, I actually remember you and Dave making fun of me for having the music production for dummies book in Australia. So that was actually, I started really getting into at least learning about that sort of stuff when I was in Australia. And I was like, when I get back, I'm gonna really do this. And you guys were like, all right.
I didn't know that. So I almost killed the Polish ambassador. It almost didn't happen because the dummies book. Oh no.
No, it's all good. But yeah, like, I guess a little background on me is I'll give you the shortened version. Went to school at UC Boulder, got a marketing degree, wasn't really stoked on just like moving into the business world. Got fired from a couple jobs, and all the while I had been starting to compose music, sort of on off hours of when I would work. So flash forward maybe like 4 or 5 years of taking odd jobs and living month to month. I put out my first album. It was called Diplomatic Immunity, and it caught some traction on Pandora early on, and a lot of people all of a sudden started streaming it and purchasing it on iTunes. And all of a sudden I looked at my bank account, which was normally riding around like $500, and there was like $1,500, and I was like, whoa, where'd that extra $1,000 come from? And sure enough, it was from royalties from, I guess, Pandora streams, and like people that were using Pandora, and they would route them to iTunes and Amazon, other places to purchase music. So I started to scale up from there, and instead of working, I would use that money to just live a life that allowed me to have that hobby slowly turn into a profession. And yeah, I've been a professional electronic music composer for, I'd say, like 15, almost 15 years now, maybe like 13.
And how many albums isn't it like 20 albums or something?
Yeah, it's like 20 to 25. There's like some remix albums in there too. And there's also Wildlight, which is a side project I do with Ayla. Yeah, so it's been quite a journey. There's so many stories in between that maybe we'll get into it in future podcasts. But these days, after touring the nation for many years, I do about, I would say, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 40 shows per year, given my energy level and given my desire to be on the road. I actually manage a 25-acre homestead now, and I got goats, and I'm out there milking goats every day, and chickens. And you know, it's obviously that doesn't pay the bills for me. It's just like what I've kind of found in my life that I just love to do. You know, I love to make music, and I love to be with animals, and I love to be on the farm and growing my own food. It's just it's a big part of what the ethos of the Polish Ambassador is all about. Yeah, and then
I
I
love
guess, you
that.
know, just to take it one step further, like meeting up with Adam, we reconnected after a show in the Bay, because he lives in the Bay Area now, and we started talking about Web3 and NFTs and the possibility of exploring, I would say, exploring what it might be like for the Polish Ambassador to sort of tiptoe into that world and you know, and try different things out without feeling like we need to commit to any one thing, but like finding ways to create value for people that support us in the NFTs, and as being holders of what we're creating, and also trying to have fun, and trying to make it make sense for everybody, you know, because Adam's over here and he's got a full-time job doing other things. I got full-time job as a beat salesman slanging Ambassador beats, and then trying to get into studio production, and yeah, we have a couple other team members that we all got our thinkers caps on, and we're all like, okay, how do we make this happen? This is fun. How do we create some really cool shit for people, and also make it so it's sustainable for all of us? So
Yeah. And
yeah,
what was
that takes us up to this moment.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and you've got a through, was it Bandcamp, right? I mean, you've kind of had kind of the online music fan club of the past. So what, I guess, excites you or maybe differentiates these two worlds for you as you kind of step into NFTs, Web3? And again, we'll talk about the environmental impact and concerns that folks rightly have. But what separates those two worlds for you? You know, folks on Bandcamp versus getting in on this Genesis Mint.
Yeah, I would say that I guess at this point, the main thing that separates it, because when you think about, I guess we'll just call it Web 2 and Web 3. Web 2 is sort of like the thing that everybody knows and loves, right? I think, you know, like Bandcamp subscription, like Spotify, iTunes, like just your basic internet stuff. And then Web 3 is maybe more this realm of NFTs and cryptocurrency, and just sort of like potentially a new way of thinking. And I guess the defining thing for me that seems really interesting and fascinating is to potentially create this sort of subsection of the Polish Ambassador or Jumpsuit Records that where people involved in it have some sort of stake, or they have some sort of say in it. And that to me feels really interesting and exciting. And I think that's where NFTs as a concept feel like they have that power or that potential, because there's all these apps and systems being developed that basically say, if this person holds this digital asset, they're entitled to one vote on, you know, where we're gonna do our next show, or they're entitled to one vote on what date, what style of genre the Polish Ambassador is going to explore for his next album. Or, you know, the list goes on and on. It could be, or like one vote on where we're going to have, if we're going to do like a Twitch live stream or a metaverse, we're going to put on a metaverse concert, where and how is that going to happen? So it really involves the fans in a deeper way, or has the potential to involve the fans in a deeper way. So that's where it really, I get really interested in. And it's all, again, it's all hovering in this realm of curiosity right now. It's all so new. And I think that's the cool thing about doing this podcast, is it allows us to learn and explore and actually stumble as well, and make mistakes and be like, okay, we're learning. This is like a new realm. Let's figure it out together. And hopefully we can weave our fans into that in a number of different ways, including owning NFTs.
And I love the creative opportunity set in front of us that just wouldn't be available on Bandcamp or Patreon, or, again, I hand $5-10 to my favorite artists to support them. I mean, that's been around since what, Michelangelo and Monet, and like, that model of like paying artists like to
Yeah.
do their great work so that they can put food on the table and a roof over the head. I think that's existed for a long time, but a new way to kind of, I don't want to say cut out the middleman, but I think you even wrote a Medium piece that was saying, how many millions of streams do you need to generate, to cover a Chipotle burrito, versus, one NFT, or, fractionalizing, music and owning it with other people. It's a completely different opportunity set.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. And like, another thing to explore in all of this is record labels, right? Because there's the Polish Ambassador, but then there's this thing that is sort of a peripheral project running in tandem with the Polish Ambassador that is Jumpsuit Records, which is a record label I've created over the last 10 years or so. And I think there's about 600 songs in the catalog. So just finding ways to bring that music into the Web3 world and give fans a reason to get excited. And I would say 75% of the artists on the label, maybe more, maybe like 80 to 85, they're not full-time musicians. And it's not because they're not amazing artists, because they are. As far as I'm concerned, like everybody that comes on to Jumpsuit Records, they get my little stamp of approval, right? Yeah. So if that means I guess if that means anything, it means at the very least, I think they're awesome, and I think they should be they could be a professional artist, just based on the art that they've submitted. So maybe that's another thing that this new world, this new Web3 and NFT world helps us crack the code on, is how do we find ways to support these musicians that are amazing musicians that actually just don't have the marketing budget to bump them up above a bunch of other artists that are kind of driven by money. They're driven by big marketing budgets, right? So I don't know. I'm really excited about exploring all that as a possibility.
Yeah, and let's talk about, again, I loved when I learned about your impact days and your appetite for just generally environmentally friendly practices, permaculture, et cetera. Seeing a lot of that kind of on your homestead. Let's get to the environmental question. So again, we chose ETH for the first drop. We're certainly open to multi-chain and all that. It looks like the merge will, fingers crossed, eventually happen in June, that will radically reduce some of these environmental concerns. But what do you say to some people, who again absolutely adore you as the musician and have followed you for years and years and years, and then kind of get a little nervous that one of their favorite people on earth is stepping into something where you read the headlines, it's like, wait a second, isn't NFT and all this crypto stuff like poisonous to the world?
Yeah. I mean, well, that was like one of the first things that we talked about when we started talking about NFTs and the Polish Ambassador. And I'm like, well, it's near and dear to my heart to do things and have this music be a conduit for bringing cool ideas and ideally sustainability ideas to the planet and to the people that are listening to this music. And I've been doing that for years, from the permaculture action days to having my own homestead and just like giving people little glimpses, like videos and photos here and there. So yeah, I can totally understand how and why that might create a little nervousness in fans or unease. And I guess, from the get, I was basically like, well, the only way we can do this is if it's carbon neutral, right? And you guys agreed pretty quickly. It was like, okay, look, that's the only way we're actually going to move forward. So at the very least, like that, if there's one guarantee that that I can make with this project, it's that it's going to be carbon neutral, or it's just not going to happen. Yeah. So, and then ideally we're able to get it to be climate positive, and that, maybe we have enough holders and we have enough people involved and enthusiastic about it that all of a sudden we start planting tons of trees, or we start doing other cool stuff that's, again, maybe voted on by the people that are holders, right? So we have these NFTs that have ownership. It's like, okay, we have $5,000 to donate now because you guys kicked butt and like are helping us generate income in this new world. Where do you guys want us to put that money? Should we plant 5,000 trees with the $5,000? Should we build a solar powered studio for musicians in Denver to use, like at I don't know. There's so many different possibilities
that's
that
right.
we could explore with people directing those sorts of votes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and again, look, this is going to be a multifaceted, multi-part conversation. I think certainly over this first year. I know, you've got Lucidity coming up. It's April. There's just I don't know, the spring step is in the air. San Diego, Denver, again, we'll have multiple chances to talk with you, talk with other artists. Cromulon, Future Gigi, some of those artists you mentioned, and more. By the way, if I can call one shot, like Koopa Troopa, like that's my guy. If I can get him on this podcast sometime over the next year, like I can die a happy man.
Nice.
There's just some amazing people in the space. But I guess as festival season heats up, music season heats up, what are you looking forward to, and what are you hoping, I guess, to accomplish with this Web3 exploration?
I would say I haven't set my sights on any accomplishments really, just because it's such a new world for me. So it's more like, I guess if there's one accomplishment, it's maybe just to understand a little bit more about how this can be supportive to the people that are interested in the Polish Ambassador, to connect to the project and to each other in a deeper way. So I guess that would be the one thing. And we're talking about different possibilities of maybe some of the people that have already onboarded onto the project being representatives at shows, and maybe giving them free tickets in exchange for holding down a booth or something, just to explain to people what we're trying to do. So I guess, like, in a show sense, I would say that would probably be it. I think that mostly it seems to me that like our efforts are mainly geared, I don't know, maybe you would agree with this, maybe not, but they're currently maybe geared towards letting people know in the Web3 world what we're doing, rather than trying to say, come on, everybody, come be over here in this new fascinating world. Like that doesn't feel to me like the best approach. It's almost like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's a certain like dogma with Web3 that's interesting, where it's almost like a Christian trying to say, you guys should all be Christians, come over here to our church. It's like not interested in that at all. It's more like, cool, here's a booth. Like, if you want to check it out, that's great. If you don't, if you wanted to just rock out and dance, that's actually just as good. That's not different. So just being very welcoming and being very, very casual about letting people know, but also letting people know that the music's going to keep flowing, the shows are going to keep flowing, and there's this little thing over here that we're kind of experimenting with.
Yeah, I love this. Well, David, I know you're a busy guy. Got to get back to the studio. I appreciate you sitting down with me. Again, for episode 1, this is so cool to be featuring, different folks on the Polish Ambassador podcast. Kind of got this idea, by the way, after running, 2 months of Twitter Spaces and Discord dance parties, and we've had a ton of fun with folks. But we thought, it might make sense to elevate the platform and reach out and let people find us, kind of have that digital booth, so to speak, so that people that are interested, that want to come over, we think we've got some cool things brewing and some great information to help inspire not just hands in the air, but hands in the soil as well. So David, hey man, a real pleasure. Thanks again.
Nice, buddy. Yeah, great to chat, and stoked that you're taking on this podcast. It's awesome to have your expertise in the world of you're so clearly just a people person, right? And it's awesome to know that you're going to be working for our little squad, making those connections, and I'm stoked to be able to dip in and chat with you and some other folks when I can.
Well, I love it. And look, if I can leave folks with one golden moment, that's the name of the first NFT drop that was predicated on a graphic novel, 160 pages. It's incredible. We can nerd out over it, like for 9 hours, but we won't hear. But there was one great moment where we were interviewing Jonah Gabriel, who runs the Lucidity Festival, and we were able to give out 2 festival passes to some of our golden moment holders. And TJ Brand, one of my guys, he's in our Discord. There's a lot of special people in our Discord that we will be shouting out over previous conversations. To hear this person, we completed a couple little tasks for us, retweet this, do that, got entered into the raffle, wins a ticket. I mean, it was literally like tears streaming down his face, like an amazing moment, that again wouldn't have existed if David never would have picked up that, musical composition for dummies book. So anyways, there are going to be so many golden moments on this show and in real life and in the metaverse. We have incredible plans, great value for folks that want to hop on the wagon and join us. So with that, let's close out episode 1. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah.